Hello, work life warriors. Welcome. I just wanted to stop past and talk a little bit about self love and self care. In this society, we're taught that self love and self care is basically anything you do to your physical body. That includes diet, exercise, how you take care of your body, your physical appearance, how you dress. Basically, it boils down to the superficial side of self-love. Now, while those things are so important, they are just the surface. That is more of how you present yourself externally to the world. The bigger part of self-love and self-care is internal. It is the work that you do to love yourself outside of how people view you. It is the time that you take to invest in yourself, to know yourself, to self-reflect, to dig up the traumatic experiences of your past, to see how it shaped you, how it molded you. It's also a matter of you understanding the things today that you really like, that make you happy, the people you like, the people who make you happy, and basically all the things that bring satisfaction, love, joy, happiness, and peace to your life. That is self-love. And the active part of self-love is participating in those things. Like, yes, knowing what makes you happy, or knowing what is fun to you, or knowing the experiences that shape you is very important. But how do you apply that to your life right now? So if you know that something in your past is traumatizing to you, depending on how you love yourself, you can be re-traumatized in the moment, or you could have done done the work so that the past doesn't affect your present moment. And that's what I really mean about self-love and self-care. There are so many moments throughout the day where things and people are trying to steal your joy and peace. And if you do not know who you are, you react very poorly. If you think that you are just a body, you also react very poorly when someone is doing something to your body. If you think that you are a status, you react very violently when someone is trying to attack your status. If you think that you are the amount of money you make, if you lose that amount of money, or you lose all your money, then you think you're worthless. And so self-love and self-care has to be outside of anything that can change, that you can accumulate, that you can lose. Your self-love and self-care, or let's just start with the self-love. The self-love part of it has to be you digging inside of you and finding all of the things that you like and love about yourself. That includes finding a way to love your weaknesses. That means devoting your time into increasing how strong your skill sets are, or increasing your strengths. Self-care is more than just putting on a mask, or sleeping, or eating well, or exercising. It's also about unpacking and reflecting and doing your spiritual work and connecting to a higher purpose and listening for your purpose and your calling in life. It is also, at the end of the day, you cannot give what you do not have. If you do not love yourself, you cannot give love. Let me say that again. If you do not love yourself, you cannot love anyone else. You cannot give what you don't have. Self-love is the prerequisite for love. I argue that self-love is the only love, because depending on how you love yourself is the lens that you see people in the world that you live in. So if you're not loving yourself, then you cannot be loving to other people. Inside, internally, if you're judging yourself, if you have a lot of negative self-talk, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of shame, a lot of blame in your head, this is basically how your thought process, negativity after negativity. It's no way that you will be able to accept any positivity in your world if you are having a constant internal battle and it's negative. Someone's simple actions to you, if you are constantly negative and mistreat yourself and talk to yourself poorly, their actions can be mistaken for something negative. So literally the way you love yourself becomes the lens in the way you see the world. So if you're forgiving to yourself, you're more forgiving to other people. If you're likely to give yourself a benefit of the doubt and be kind to yourself, you would do that to other people. If you are waking up in the morning with a half full cup, right? That means that you are only loving the people to 50% of your capacity, which is unfair in itself because they're only getting 50% of what you can give. But if you wake up in the morning and you fill up your own cup to its 100% and over, and you meet people with a full cup or the overflow from the cup, then you're able to take the situation and respond accordingly instead of reacting through your own biased lens. So I was thinking, like, I have a very strong personality, so I always thought that I was loving myself. I always took the time to try to take care of myself, to develop myself. I spent a lot of time growing, research, learning. But at the same time, that speaks more to the person that I am growing to be and less to the person that I am now. While it is important to grow and develop, you need to also understand who you are now, like who you are internally, not just this body. And then also you need to understand what parts are you and what parts were shaped through the experiences that you had while here. So self-care, self-love is a daily activity. It's something that you will have to commit to till you die. Speaking up for yourself, having that discipline and willpower to show up for yourself, to love yourself regardless of the other demands on your life, because people will demand things from you. They'll have expectations. They'll demand your time, energy. And if you do not practice self-love, you could deplete your own resources and, again, loving them from a space that's not full. And so it's not really beneficial to anyone showing up 50%, especially not yourself, not your children, not the world. It's best that we wake up every single day, and the first thing you do in the morning is start your self-love and self-care routine. I would start with self-love. One thing that I do in the morning, as I'm journaling, I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. And then as far as the love part, I write 3 things that I love about myself. And I like to remind myself constantly the things that I love about myself, the things that I like about myself. And one of the self-care techniques that I do every morning is I make sure that I pray. I make sure that I meditate. I make sure that I write in my gratitude journal, because there's no way that you can love and appreciate yourself without being grateful for how far you've come. We are never the same person that we were the day that we were born. We change each and every day, even if it's in small ways or huge ways, we change. And so a self-care technique would be to thank your creator for still waking up, for the present you received this morning, waking up, for you to sit down and meditate and listen for answers and directions for the day, for you to be grateful of whatever had occurred the day before, or grateful for your life, or grateful for whatever that makes you feel like you're living. And so those are just 2 tools and techniques that you can use in the mornings before work to practice a little self-love and self-care. Self-love and self-care are not selfish. I know that's what the dictionary say, that it's selfish and conceited to practice self-love and self-care. And that is because we are taught to give it all to everyone at the expense of ourselves. And we do not find happiness that way. So many people, 80% of Americans, are so unhappy. And that is because the requirements and demands that we have on our life, that we satisfy for other people before we satisfy our needs, before we feel and invest into ourselves. So it is very important that you do so, and never let anyone shame you for taking the time to practice a little self-love and self-care. So I hope that helps. Have a great day, work-life warriors.